that we were reading that, I think a lot of us get curious about. We know that people of the Christian faith have certain views, at least most of them, in terms of the way the world is going in terms of morality, and specifically with the LGBT issues. And we also know that people who are committed Muslims also have very strong views on moral codes. But now we may have some ground here that's very interesting of crossing over and find some agreement on this. What does the bulk or the majority of Muslims, what are their shared beliefs about the way the U.S. is going on this issue?
I think it's difficult for me to speak on behalf of 1.6 billion people in the world, but and the article that you're referring to in the Christian Post, I think, had a very misleading title. Muslims think the U.S. has gone completely insane over LGBT issues. What I was saying is that outside of the United States, many Muslims, I think, would probably see, we were actually speaking about the bathroom issue, not about LGBT issues. We were speaking about the idea of giving people a choice of which bathroom to go into. And I think most Muslims just cannot think about that because it seems so counterintuitive to some just basic human understandings about binaries, about male-female relationships.
How about Islam in general addressing the issues of homosexuality? Where would the faith stay?
I think it's pretty much identical to traditional Christianity. That I think the story of Lot is a story that is reiterated in the Quran, and it's condemned as a sin. The idea of people having same-sex attraction, I think, would be seen from a Muslim perspective as a type of tribulation, something to be fought. And I think one of the things that, for me, I think religious people have in many ways misunderstood the current zeitgeist in this country, which has had such a radical shift in the last several years in terms of how people view traditional morality. We have a crisis that's not just in the LGBT community. We've got a crisis of just sexual promiscuity that's wreaking havoc on our young people. We have sexually transmitted diseases that are on the rise. We have now, the first time there's reports coming out of England of a completely antibiotic-resistant strain of gonorrhea. We know that the types of diseases that we're seeing now are unprecedented. So HPV virus, which is just wreaking havoc on our young people, causes cancers, oral cancers, rectal cancers, cervical cancers. And so we have a public health issue, and I think it needs to be removed from the religious dialogue because we're in a secular society. It's very important that we see that we're in a public health crisis. And I think that our culture is denying biological realities because of a certain political correctness that, to me, is criminal vis-a-vis our young people.
Well, as you would well know, within Judaism, there's a whole group of people that we would just say are secular Jews. We know in the Christian faith that there are many who walk a secular road. And what about in Islam? Would the same be true?
I think there are a lot of secular Muslims. I think many Muslims feel very comfortable living in secular societies. But there's a difference between secularity and laicism. Laicism is the French form of secularism, which is at war with religion, whereas the religious attitudes of our founding fathers, many of them were deists, many of them were coming out of a Masonic tradition like George Washington that really wanted to see a type of civilization that honored and respected religions, and there are letters indicating that to the Jewish community. But now we have a French model emerging in the United States where religion is seen as completely unacceptable in the public space. And this was certainly not intended by the founders of this country, nor has it been the practice throughout our history. If you take, for instance, Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address, he would be considered a completely religious fanatic to say something like that today.
All right, let's talk about